Because I was really sick as a teenager and a kid due to chronic stress and some genetic health conditions, I had to do a lot and work really hard to get in tune with my body and to what I was eating and how it was impacting me. But also I started educating myself on how stress impacted my physical health, and I got my college education in that. As I had educated myself, I was praying to ask God to know how I could better help people around me, because I could see that many people were going through the same things that I was. And after posting a couple of simple videos, I started getting asked to speak to different youth groups throughout the land, and it's been an incredible and beautiful experience. But I was also realizing that I wasn't leaving them with enough, and I've been working to develop something that can better serve my community and my God. And MOGA and Uplift events is what I've come up with. Education on how our thoughts are impacting our mind and the way that we feel, and how to take care of your body, which is a temple, in the way that God would want us to. Not just to look a certain way, but to feel good so we can better serve Him. The way I was thinking about myself and about the world was directly affecting the way that I felt. Sometimes I would feel in physical pain or like really low energy, and I noticed that my thoughts were not in a good place. And I started also noticing that if I would move my body and get blood flowing more through my body, which delivered oxygen throughout my body, I just felt better. But I was like, why is movement also helping my nerves? Like, it was alleviating anxiety. And I owned and operated a gym for 6 years. And during that time, I saw a lot of people who were working out and getting buff, but a lot of those people would come to my office, and as I would be talking to them, there was a lot of like emotional and mental battles going on and spiritual battles. And I thought, what's happening here? Like, physically, people look so healthy, and maybe even to the world, they look so healthy. But mentally, emotionally, spiritually, there's something like very wrong. I believe that our bodies are a temple meant to house the Spirit of God. And in my faith, we have temples, which are beautiful buildings, and they're decorated simply, but they're just so beautiful. And yet they're so strong and sturdy. And one night I was in cleaning the temple, and they said specifically, you might wonder what you're cleaning. And they said, you're not really cleaning the temple, you're keeping it unspotted from the world. And I thought about what I was putting in my body, which is a temple. What was I allowing myself to think about? What was I viewing on media or on TV? Or what kind of music was I listening to? And was it filling my mind with light, with happiness, with hope? Or was it not? And then I also started thinking of the things I'm eating. Am I eating things that are healthy, that can build a strong structure in me? And these temples that we have are built to weather many storms. So if an earthquake were to hit, they were built to be able to handle an earthquake. If storms were raging and winds were blowing, they were meant to withstand the storms of life. And I started thinking, physically, am I taking care of my body so I'm physically strong? But mentally, am I taking care of myself so I'm mentally strong? And it made me want to study things like stress and how fear and stress impact the way your body feels. And that getting physically fit isn't enough. You have to get mentally, emotionally, and spiritually fit as well. And so I started just taking the things that I learned both from school and from the gospel of Jesus Christ and putting it into something that I can give to people. All I know is that through the right kind of meditation, you can pull yourself out of a state of stress, but you can also help your brain to rewire and remap. Once we repeat certain messages in our mind, they start to fuse together and form what's called a protein bond. And it happens because we say things like, I am ugly or gross, or anything that follows the statement, I am. your brain really starts to identify with that, and any thoughts you have, once they're repeated over and over, they start to fuse together in your mind, so much so that they bridge a gap between those neural paths, and you start to believe those things are true, whether they're actual truth or not. We start to believe that they're true. So many people are so hyper-focused on how they look, and they think they're fat, for instance. And they'll think that so much that that's all that they can see, and they'll only look for things that support that truth because they've convinced themselves that that's the reality. I've seen a lot of broken homes happen from negative thinking and from stress. When you're in the stress response, you're in fight or flight, and that fight or flight response makes you want to fight or flee from anything, from the thing that's troubling you. It makes you want to fight people. It makes you want to fight God. And my hope is to educate people into action, to help people to develop faith in Jesus Christ, because with God, all things are possible. And he came a light into the world that whoever would believe on him would not abide in darkness. And I believe that God, we are children of God, and we came from him, and we have a spirit inside this body, which is a temple, and we're here in mortality to have experience and to educate ourselves, and all things we go through can work together for good when we allow God into the process. Even the nasty and ugly places we go to in our lives can be used for good. And all I know is that the ugly and nasty health that I've had in my life and the difficult things that I've been through are the exact same reason that I connect to so many people today. The one thing that used to disconnect and isolate me from everybody is the exact same thing that connects me to everybody. And I had to make a decision to walk in the light as he is in the light. And now I have fellowship with people around me. And the devil is trying to break up homes through making us feel isolated. There's something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And on that hierarchy of needs, it talks about having food, water, and shelter, and then safety. And most of us are taken care of in that way, except for those going through abuse or difficult things. However, the next thing is to feel love and to belong. And if you've ever been in a room full of people but still felt alone, we're being tricked in our minds that our problems and our pain make us alone. And instead of using them to enhance our testimony, we use them to believe that God's not there. And my hope is to educate people into action on how the devil works on our bodies and our minds. So once we believe a certain way for so long, we start to deteriorate in our body, and my hope is to build a strong structure physically, mentally, emotionally, and especially spiritually. Through developing a new mindset and adding movement to it, it not only takes your thoughts, but it moves them throughout your nervous system and into your body and into your muscles. And it might seem like a foreign concept, but it's very natural. We couldn't wave our hand without first having a thought. And it's taking your thoughts and it's helping change your body literally from the inside out. And before I do this mindset and movement, I always pray and ask God, what characteristic of Christ can I develop that day to help me decide into who I want to be instead of letting life happen to me? How can I become a beacon of God's light and love? How can I have more patience or more kindness? And I allow myself to think and ponder on that and meditate on that. And then as I move, I let it become a part of my body and a part of my nervous system, so that when things come at me in life, they don't wipe me out. Instead, because I've decided who I am at the core of my being, that I'm first a child of God, and that I'm also developing characteristics of Christ in my body, it changes the way I think, it changes the way I move through my life and the way I interact with people. And when difficult things come, I can just respond in peace and in love instead of falling to whatever life throws at me.